Sometimes all of us have all doing
Well, we need to.
I got some paint under that. I don't want to go to paint. What can I do with it? Can I give it somebody like face somebody? I gotta get some of that. My mom baby's over there full of used paint.
You want to put it away?
Well, yeah, I'm gonna get rid
It
of
has
it.
to dry
You
out.
have to put like
You have to put
cat
sand in
litter or
it.
stuff in it too.
Huh?
You have to put sand in it.
Cat litter, something that absorbs it.
Who's gonna take it?
You take it to the dump, then
You take it dry out.
Down there at the dumpster, they'll tell you exactly. But I think what they said do is put it full of sand.
I'm not sure, but it's something you can do.
Whatever.
It has to be dry.
Yeah, whatever you can use.
Keeps it from going everywhere. Don't get up and go, but you got 30 seconds.
I've got to drive this point up, so just help me get it. Lord Jesus, help me.
Let's see.
We'll see. And I'll probably, okay, Mr. Mayor, it's time.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call to order this City Council Committee's meeting of August 27, 2018. At this time, please stand with us for the invocation and the pledge of allegiance. Now with us, please. To God, in Jesus' name, we just thank you for this day and thank you for the freedom we enjoy in this land. Thank you for this community and its citizens, and we pray your blessing on each of them. We pray for wisdom, knowledge, and discernment as we discuss the business of our sound, and we thank you for each one here that contributes to that. We pray for those that are sick and afflicted, that you touch them and heal them. Pray for those that are grieved over the loss of loved ones, that you give them comfort. We just thank you and praise you for all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. This time I would entertain a motion to approve the published agenda of this date's City Council meeting as presented.
Make that motion.
A second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, let me know by saying aye. Any opposed, the same sign. All right, first committee is Budget and Finance. Chairperson, Taryn Bivens.
Well, we'll start out with Mr. Osborne going out, yes, over our staff report.
Well, basically, just wanted to let you know what the process is going to be over the next 40 minutes or so. We will start with the Budget and Finance Committee, and the first few items, as you can see, basically constitute a work session to focus on the tax digest and the tax village rate. If there's some additional time between when you finish that discussion at about 6 o'clock, Mr. Mayor and Ms. Evans, we'll just move to the next agenda item. But about 3 minutes to 6, if we'll need to recess this committee meeting, because at 6 o'clock we'll have a public hearing. If you go to your second tab, you will see the agenda for the public hearing. And following the public hearing, if you go to the next page, you will see the agenda for the special call meeting, one agenda item, the meeting to begin immediately following adjournment of the public hearing. And that one agenda item, of course, is to adopt a resolution to set the millage rate. Following the completion of your special call meeting, adjournment of it, then you would reconvene your committee's meeting. So, Madam Chairman, that gives you some idea of where we will be proceeding. And so, turn it back over to you to pick up with item 2. And Ms. Geyer will talk to you and kind of guide you over the next few items.
Yes, ma'am. The 2018 millage rate, we received the tax digest from Carroll and Haralson County in early August. The tax digest, and let me see, the paperwork you have in your notebook, if you'll look at this form, This is the PT 32.1, and it's the computation of the millage rate with the information provided to us by the county. The net digest for Carroll County was at $116,709,261. The net digest for Haralson County for the city of Temple was $1,140,831. The two of those combined together gives Temple a net digest, and if you'll look under the last column under 2018 digest, the net digest is $117,850,092. So that is the digest number by which we set our millage rate. This is an increase from 2017 to 2018 of $11,175,334. The increase in the digest is directly related to a combination of reassessments conducted by the county and growth in tax categories that make up the property tax. And again, those categories do include commercial and residential real estate, personal property, mobile homes, motor vehicles, timber, and heavy-duty equipment. So we receive tax on all of those categories. With the exception of timber, Temple received 0% assessed tax on timber for this year.
Can you ask the question? Yes. Why did we not, I mean, we've been receiving it, why did we not receive it this year?
For timber, I do not know, but it's a production question. Because at some point, like we had 95,125 taxable timber in 2017. So they didn't clear any land. They didn't clear any land in, yeah. Is that a question that I need to present to the county commissioner?
No, I was just
Okay.
wondering, I mean, it seems like they're still cutting a lot of wood right now, so that's what I was asking.
Okay. And I can ask her that question to get some, to make sure that they're looking through the city of Temple and how that's reported to them. I'm sure they have to have permits and, so I will ask about that. So anyway, our net digest, we calculated our millage on the 117 million of taxable property. Our gross M&O millage rate calculated at 11.4%. And that millage rate is calculated based on the combination of property tax revenue that is budgeted for the city of Temple, combined with sales tax revenue from lost. Those are divided into the net digest, and it gives you a percentage. So our millage, our gross millage was 11.4. We subtract the millage for the sales tax revenue we received and lost for 2017, and got a rollback of 5.276. So that equals our rollback rate of 6.127. Now, if you'll look on the 5-year history chart in your books, so the 6.127 net M&O millage rate, rollback rate, allows the county to levy $722,068 of property tax. That is $36,682 increase in potential tax revenue for the city of Temple, even while we roll back the rate, which is a good thing. Does anyone have any questions? It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, that's pretty easy to read.
Tax, and percentages, and a rate. Okay, yes, sir.
And just would say then is that, with whatever discussion y'all want to have, or you don't need to have any, then, when we have the public hearing at 6, Ms. Guy basically will be presenting to the public, the same that she was done here, and, then the public will have an opportunity to input. And, following that, in the conclusion of that, then you have your special call meeting when you will adopt a resolution that, do you want to go over the resolution at this time before we move on to other subjects?
Actually, I don't have a copy of the resolution with me.
Okay,
Perhaps-
y'all will go over, this is under the material that you were just looking at. If you go over to the last 2 pages, you'll see the resolution. This is exactly the
I
same.
read it, I just didn't read it.
Okay.
I
All right.
didn't think I'd be.
So this is exactly the same wording as we had last year, as prepared by the city attorney. The only change that Ms. Guy and Ms. Etheridge have made is in the millage rate itself. So when we get to the special call meeting and you are looking at setting the millage rate by adopting the resolution, this is what you'll be adopting. And like I say, it's exactly the same wording as we had last year.
The other handout that you have in that section of your book is what the public will receive for the public hearing tonight. So if there's anything additional that you feel needs to be said. I basically just covered, what the net digest is for each of the counties under the city. I noted what millage rate for the last 3 years. And then, of course, what property taxes are used for in our general fund budget, what the purpose of those taxes are.
Okay.
Any more questions? If not, we're going to go to the next agenda item. Okay, so that was the discussion. There's no discussion.
Y'all can go ahead with your next item, Mr.
Okay.
Mayor.
So we're going to continue consideration of the respective amendments to the general operating budget, the water budget, the 2015 SPLOST budget for the city of Chimple for 2018, following the tabling of these items during the city council's regular monthly meeting on August the 6th. So we tabled these, so we need to, because we didn't have them on our website.
So this is just a matter of putting them back.
This is a matter if you have anything to say or to add or to ask, otherwise we're just gonna add them onto the agenda.
I do want to note, I have updated them
Yes.
because we've got another month of operations passed by. But I do have a few items that I need to point out to you in the general fund. And the amount of change was $28,969 over the last month. But it's,
Is the update on the website?
it is not, and it will be put up tomorrow, as long as the mayor and council don't direct any changes, then we'll post it prior to the meeting where it'll be adopted. So, can I go over the general
Yes,
fund? Okay, for the general fund, these budget amendments are in your notebook. And the general fund budget, like I said, I sent the revenue and expenditures from the general fund budget up through August 20th, 2018, to get us up to date for the most recent numbers. We saw an increase in revenue through the amendments in a month's time of $29,989. The general fund budget balances at, as you can see on the summary page, $3,114,850. So that's your revenues and your expenditures. That leaves you a contingency or an excess revenue line of $59,452.44. While the rest of all the amendments are obviously operational and just keeping things up to date as expenditures come through the year, there was one major change that was requested in the community development budget. We discussed this at the last committee meeting. That budget was $30,000, and we still had not identified a specific purpose for that money. Our code enforcement officer has looked at, and he and Cindy did a demo on the code enforcement and permitting module with Casella. So we do have an up-to-date quote on that module. George will be presenting a proposal to you at next month's committee meeting. But we did identify $20,000 of the $30,000 in the community development budget. If approved, the administration computer services budget can be increased by 20, and then if you approve the module, it will already be funded within the general fund without having to identify new money. Okay, so that was the major change in the general fund amendments that you have before you. You will see the orange highlights. The orange highlights are the different lines between last month's committee meeting and this month's committee meeting. Yes, so those are the few changes that were updated.
All right, continuing on, any questions? So we're gonna review, oh, I'm
I
sorry.
just do want to point out that you do have the ordinances in your book, so we can move forward with this, so we apologize for that.
Okay, so the next agenda item is the 2018 capital fund budget for the request of the two municipal funds for the water system.
You can, okay, water fund, let me
Yes.
just go over
Yep.
this real quick. The water fund budget amendments, again, your summary page, your amendments are in your notebook under this chart. I'll just say there's no, well, there is one major change, and that is when we identified the transfer from SPOS 2015, the budget was initially adopted with $622,765 going from SPOS to the water fund as a revenue source for the purpose of debt payment, not for operations. We've amended that to $250,000, and that's why you'll see the change. That's the major point that changes in your revenue sources. We matched that in balance with expenditures at $2,486,540, and we were able to capture some of that balance through decreasing transfers from water fund to the general fund from the $194,000 to $118,388. So your water fund is balanced with the appropriate amendments. And then we have the SPOS 2015. If you're prepared, it's a one-page budget in your book. And we've updated this through the last three committee meetings, so we're pretty ready to go. But it again, is something as we identify purchases and projects that require capital funds, then we will also amend this budget as we go. SPOS 2015, as you see, your total fund revenues are $1,313,316. $250,000 of your budget is committed to debt reduction. Public Works has $16,000 for an only match. for our streets and roads projects. Police department, you've committed $85,000. Sewer treatment plant, we are reimbursing the water fund $12,000 for the purchase of portable pumps. In the water fund, the expenditure line is at $129,205. And that again is for has been committed to the meter replacement program project, submersible pumps for Public Works and the water department, and the purchase of the meter reading equipment from Kendall last month before last. Okay, that leaves you a fund balance in SPOS 2015 of $821,091.77 for future project purchases and sales. Any questions on the amendments? Yes, sir.
Going back to the water fund revenue, which is the next page after the one on the water tap fees and sewer tap fees, on the amended budget, is that what has actually been collected so far?
I can give you that.
I've got the amounts here,
Yes, I raised the revenue to match what we've
what's already collected.
been collected, as well as, you know, if it keeps going, trending like it is.
And that's through 8 months.
Yes, sir. So up through August 20th. Water taps,
33,000.
current revenue is 31,000. Already in-house, we've taken in 31,000.
Okay, and your sewer tax is
And then
70.
sewer tax, yes, sir, we're at $64,125.
Correct. Thank you.
What time do we need to adjourn?
5:57.
Six, I think it'd be six, we've got 9 minutes.
Okay.
9 till 6. We got time.
Next item, okay. Next item is the capital budget worksheet. Again, this is something else that we've been working on for quite a number of, as we continue, but it won't go away. This is something that we're always going to be working with. The capital budget worksheet, these are all the projects that, of course, you've identified, the department directors have identified, and as we push forward, it's a changing document. I have updated it with projects that have been approved, completed, and paid for, or are in progress. The two that are highlighted on the capital budget worksheet are the two items that I'd like to bring to your attention. They are the purchase of the submersible pumps for the water department and Public Works. Dwayne was able to get an updated quote. Those are also attached to your capital budget worksheet. So I'd like to request that this item be put on your September 4th agenda for your consideration. And Dwayne will be here later during the Public Works Committee meeting if you have any questions on these pumps.
We've already had that discussion, right? Yeah, so we've already had the discussion.
Any questions on the capital budget worksheet? No. This next discussion will take a few minutes.
Okay. So we'll stop there.
Good.
So you're stopping with, at the end of,
Yes.
The next
I
one is
have just one.
next
item
one is
on.
7.
Yes, we're stopped, we just did 7, so we're gonna stop before we get to 8.
But it'll take longer.
Yeah.
So, oh.
We're gonna do 7 and 8.
Bank service too?
money market.
Yeah, we've got 2 items left for that.
Oh, so
Fees
we'll
and money
start
market.
with 7. I'm missing
Yes.
the big. All
No,
right.
I said it wrong, I did 6 items.
That doesn't matter. I know. So what do you need now?
All right, this time I'd entertain a motion for us to go into recess with the city council committees meeting.
Make that motion?
And I second.
All in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, and in 6 minutes or so, we will convene the special call meeting, public hearing. 2018 tax digest and tax millage rate.
Can I ask you a question? Yes, sir. Did you say that, there was that 622,000 plus the that they were gonna put in debt service, they're now not?
No, in the original budget, they had earmarked the entire debt payment.
Just to know, all of that is to
Now
make sure
they're
we
only
put on
putting
the agenda.
250,000 into debt payment, and the remaining balance will come from
Where will the rest of it
the rest of the 622
Yeah, that
that
was-
stays in SPOS
go? Stays in SPOS to spend?
to fund these projects that we're talking
I
about.
thought last month you said it had to do that, but they can just amend it. Because last
We
week,
can bring it up at
you
eight.
said, that's what you
Bring it
bring
up at
on
eight.
for it to go to debt service, and so he said, well, and the 250, and then y'all were discussing that it was going to be 872, and put it in money market and all that, So now it's only going to be 500 something.
Mentioned that you'll be bringing it up.
250 and
Just so everybody knows.
250 from the old.
Okay. There were, I see what you're saying now. There are two $622,000 amounts. The first amount was in 17, that was completed. And it has been hanging out the water fund since July 17.
Right, it was in the general, and they moved it to.
That's right,
Yeah.
to the water fund. Well, it doesn't belong to the water fund either, it belongs to the debt fund, because it was committed to debt. So that first chunk of 622 is already there.
Oh, okay.
That's the amount, plus the 250 for the current slot.
Yeah,
That's
so
the
there,
big
that
one.
800 is still there.
That's there, and it's, they're looking at putting that into the money market.
Right,
And then the rest of the 622 that was budgeted this year,
Yeah.
minus the 250, will stay in the SPOS fund.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, I got you now.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh,
Yeah.
I just said last month.
We
Now I'm
did.
clear. Okay, thank you.
But there's two pots.
Yeah, okay,
two.
that makes it,
Okay.
that clears it up. Thank you.
Hey, I think we got it. The rec, they said we were gonna do when the thing is, but it's 3 more months out. The rec thing, we're gonna update the whole page on the rec, put their numbers, their emails, I think it's got those.
That's supposed to be the.
No, that's what we're gonna update, because when I asked you before,
Oh,
you said
we're
we're
talking
gonna
about
wait.
the unrolling of ours.
Well, yeah, 'cause we just knocked that out for 3 more months, right?
No, not quite. That's coming, well, just say 3 months. What do you think?
And Kristen, we talked about updating it. For the, you got to really put on stuff on it, and I'll update it. And you said we're gonna wait till we roll it out, but now we put it off.
There's no need to do a lot of work. Unless he should be keeping some correct stuff on it. Is he keeping it?
Yeah, I got it.
I'll let this, I'll take a stab at it and cover what I don't say.
How long are you gonna let that go?
Just swallow it up.
Explain it, answer any input, nothing.
So like, I know, it's just gonna get the thing and put that thing.
But just look out that time, they, to basically cover the key points. Even if I have a question, I would still, it would be nice if it was there.
And I'm afraid coming back.
That's it.
Public hearing, your explanation on what we consider. I don't know which day. 3 or 4.
Be done?
5 minutes.
Yeah.
Max. Whatever it is. And when you do that, you may want to use that podium after, you need to be talking to, also the archives.
I know, it's kind of an awkward.
Oh, so you were ready.
Actually, I just have 2 pieces of paper. Okay. Plus, I don't want to block you.
It was there. I'm
Yes.
sorry. I asked him if you were gonna use it.
You can come over here with it if you want to.
I'm fine. Ms. Bivens doesn't mind.
But now, if you, you're not gonna give Don a very good picture there, you may have to move away from the camera a little bit. No, I'm not talking about getting out of the camera. Why don't you go up here close to the mayor so that.
Make him look good.
Yeah, that's good.
Very good voice.
You'll be fine.
They'll throw a tomato.
Put you back into it.
Yes, sir. Hoorah. Where's George?
You'll be up here, we'll make the mayor.
Or you show how bad they look. All right, you're on, Mr. Mayor.
All right, this time we'll call to order the public hearing on the 2018 tax digest and tax millage rate for August 27, 2018. The purpose of this hearing is to share information regarding the tax digest and the tax millage rate and allow for public input regarding those things. Mr. Osborne, need to add anything to that? All right. At this time then, we'll have the distribution of the printed information. I presume that all of us has received that. All right. So at this time, the presentation by the City of Temple, I think will be Ms. Cynthia Geyer will do that for us.
All right. Good evening. And the 2018 millage rate is calculated by the tax digest presented to us from Carroll County and Haralson County. The amount for the City of Temple, the net digest of those combined counties, if you'll look on your 5-year history chart, the very last column is for 2018. And you'll see about halfway through the chart where the adjusted net M&O digest, that is the amount of tax on property within the City of Temple. So we're looking at $117,850,092 for our tax digest. We calculate gross M&O millage based on strictly what property tax and sales tax revenue bring to the City of Temple versus what budget we're required to have to cover our administration and operations. So that is 11.4. We then roll back the tax revenue that we get from loss because we've already received that. So we're not going to tax on that money again, and that's what the rollback is. 5.276, which gives us a rollback rate of 6.127, is the recommendation for fiscal year 2018-19. So county taxes levied on property of City of Temple will be approximately $722,068. And I just want to cover, for fiscal year 2018, our property taxes supported 29% of the general fund budget. General fund budget specifically covers administration and operations, our governing authority, the administration building and city hall, public works, your municipal court, your public works department, the senior center, the funds that we use to support our library, the community development, any of the special city events, and our recreation department, including the city parks. That's it.
All right, thank you so much. At this time, an opportunity will be provided for the public to make comments or ask questions. If anyone has a comment or a question, please raise your hand and we'll acknowledge you and give you that opportunity. All right, seeing no indication of that desire, And any discussion from the council? All right, well, we will announce that as advertised, there will be a city council special meeting immediately after this public hearing to set the millage rate. Anyone have any closing comments before we adjourn the public hearing? All right, we'll consider the public hearing adjourned. Appreciate your attendance. Now we will move to the City Council special call meeting of August 27, 2018. We call that to order. And at this time, we entertain a motion to approve the published agenda of this date's special call City Council meeting as presented.
So moved.
Have a move and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, the same sign. All right, we have one new business item, and that is to adopt a resolution to set the 2018 millage rate for the city of Temple.
I make a motion to adopt the resolution. Second.
All right, we have a move and second to adopt the resolution. Any discussion?
Question, is this earlier than what it was last year? Is it?
No, so we just about exactly the same time.
I thought we were kind of ahead of the game this year.
Well, it may be that we are a little bit ahead of the game, comparatively speaking, for the last probably 2 years, because you remember 2 years ago, everything was delayed because of all the appeals in Carroll County. Last year, there were fewer appeals, but I think we still were a little later than we are now. Of course, we're having to do this because of the deadline given to us by both Carroll County and Harrison County tax commissioners on getting information into it.
All right, any more discussion? All right, all in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. No need for executive session that I'm aware of. Any closing comments? All right, I entertain a motion to adjourn the special call meeting of the Temple City Council.
So the motion. To adjourn.
All right, I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, the same sign. All right, I would entertain a motion to come out of recess from our City Council Committee's meeting and go back into session.
I'm sure they're going to recess.
Whatever you said.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. All right, and we'll go back to where we stopped on the Budget and Finance Committee. Chairperson Karen Bivens, item number 7.
Yes, sir. We'll start with an updated report concerning our bank services and bank fees.
Synovus Bank, they've had a couple of meetings with the staff, and they did present, if you'll look on your first letter from Synovus Bank under the tab for this discussion, they came in with a presentation and a pricing commitment that provided the City of Temple with an earnings credit of 0.35% on the average ledger balance and 45% of the discount to all of our bank account fees. If you look in the middle, they presented this agreement to us for a 12-month period to be renegotiated, of course, every year, August 1st, 2018 to July 31st, 2019. This would be bank service fees on all of the accounts that are listed in the letter, and these are all of our operational accounts. These changes, this pricing commitment basically saves the city $7,920 in bank service fees per year. If it is managed correctly, we will pay no bank service fees on these operating funds for the entire time that this agreement is in place. So,
About time.
good news.
That's a lot of money.
They were very, committed to having a good agreement with us.
25 has a significant importance there.
They were very nice, very nice. So, and the management part of this is the average ledger balance. You have to maintain, if you look on my point paper in the front, the average ledger balance is $2,807,849. And right now, we have no issue maintaining that average ledger. And as long as we maintain that and above, then all of the earnings credit will offset all of the bank service fees that would be charged, and we will have zero. I want to move now to the discussion, though, of the money market account, because we did ask the Novus Bank to give us their best rate if we wanted to move the debt funds that we discussed last committee meeting, which were the $622,000 from FY17's budget that was committed to debt, and $250,000 from FY18's budget that's committed to debt, and move that into an interest earning account, money market account. The second letter from Synovus is their commitment to a 12-month, 1.45% interest rate. So in calculating the interest for $650,000, that's a return of $9,425 minus service fees on the money market for 1 year, or an earnings of approximately $750 per month. The possibility, the question, of course, is moving $650,000 out. Will that affect our ledger balance at any time? I don't think at this time that there's a problem with that, but it's still, even if we dip below that 2.8 million, 2.9 million, the bank fees that we would pay are insignificant when you look at the amount of interest you can earn at 1.49%.
So, Cynthia, my question to you is, do you think this is our best rate, our best route to go with this money?
I think it's a very competitive rate. And it's only for a 12-month period. Usually money markets, there's not an end time to them. They just roll over, but I'm sure, at that time, it'll be time to renegotiate.
Is there a penalty if you take it out before 12 months?
No, sir. It's unlike a CD. You can withdraw at any time.
But we don't use the interest rate, probably keep that amount in there every month.
And we said 650 for the rate, but there is, I'm not sure when that rate drops down below. Yeah. Because even with this $650,000 moved to money market, we won't have to pull any now for debt payment unless something significant happens in the future.
So, yeah. So, all right, looking at this, it would still be advantageous, even though we could drop that balance down, to have it in there, right?
Absolutely.
So your recommendation is just,
To invest it.
yes. And that's going to be on the agenda for us?
Yes.
Or Monday?
I'm asking for it to be there
Or
Monday.
Tuesday?
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Tuesday, yeah.
Tuesday.
What about the 250, what about the back?
For that coming out of the SPOS.
Yes.
Once we pass the 2015 SPOS budget, that transfer will be made.
So this will go up into
Y'all can put it in any, it's at 622, and if you wanted to add the 250, you certainly could.
And that won't affect, I'm sorry,
Oh, that's what I was just gonna say,
That
so,
won't affect that. That major balance, it won't affect that.
No, I don't think so.
no,
Still,
We're
that's
over
1.5%,
4.
that's,
Yeah, our average ledger balance right now is around 3.8 to 4 million. So we would have to.
so that would be a handsome payoff dividend. That's better than it just sitting there and them charging us to have the money there.
it's kind of a win-win on both sides. It's a win for our regular accounts, it's a real win for us on this one, with no penalties and interest.
What I will do before next Tuesday though is I'll calculate both of those scenarios, just to make sure. I do have one thing that came up and it has to do with our banking services. So I just need to cover this real quickly. There's two here. We received this letter. I had actually, once we started talking about investing the debt funds and our funds in order to get a better return on Temple's money, I also contacted Bank OZK because their money market there is for the water fund, and asked them to give us a best rate to see if we can roll that $204,377 over. They've held that money market for years, and it's paying 0.05%. So they did respond last week to Mr. Osborne and myself that since this is the only account that they hold with the city of Temple, that they would not be able to offer us a better rate at this time. So,
Can you get them to issue a check for that and then put it in the money market?
I can, and see, and then this came today, and this letter tells us, of course, that the account has gone dormant because we don't have any transactions occurring, because it's sat there as an investment account, basically, as a money market. And I think when we pulled that CD out of the Bank OZK, and then we haven't, fed them any other CDs in return, that left this just kind of sitting there. But anyway, they would like the city of Temple's business, but at this time, it might be a good move to also consider this money market as part of an investment item. And I don't know if you want to look at another CD, if you want to negotiate another separate money market, because this isn't debt, this is water operating funds.
But this could easily be moved to Synovus, who's working with us. I mean, this is just another national bank. So it's not like we're dealing with a local bank, this is a national bank.
Yes.
So we have there's no real reason to be loyal to that. So if we're getting a good rate from the other bank, looks to me like what you do is just tell them, give you a check, take it over and put it in and get the, I mean, I know that's a little more.
I know. Well, and I just want, in looking at when we were going out for different rates and we were shopping the market, Bank OZK was always one of the top rates. I mean, that's the one that Synovus matched on the last CD. Synovus matched Bank OZK.
So are you saying about then go to them and ask about putting it in a CD?
Well, not a CD, but I asked them to increase our rate on our money market, because not only because we're shopping with Synovus right now, but every other bank and credit union, their money market rates are growing. They're getting higher and higher all the time.
Right.
But unfortunately, they said no at this time. And I have not attempted to go to anyone other than the branch manager here, which I could do if y'all would like to see if we could get a better reaction.
Well, is there a reason that we would not just close this out and withdraw it and give it to the Bank of Synovus, since they're willing to do that, and see if they'll give us that 1.5 on this account also?
We can ask.
wherever we can get the best return.
Okay,
Right.
all right, then I'll bring this information back to you. Just,
Basically, just wanted to be sure that we took it to where I think the two of you seem to be going, that you got this week to get everything identified and so forth, and then we have it on the agenda so that on the regular meeting next Tuesday night, city council will vote on what they want to do with this account.
Yes.
But this is earmarked for water.
water. Yes, it is.
So it needs to go into the account, about set up.
Yes, it doesn't need to be
We
put
don't
in
need to
with
come
the debt.
in with it.
No, no.
And that's all I have for that one.
Any more questions on that? Okay, then we're gonna go to number 8, follow-up report discussion based on the July 30th presentation by Bill Camp of Raymond James and Associate about the refinance of our water bond. Mr. Osborne?
You would go over to your next tab, if you've been following Cynthia. Next tab, you'll see is a memo to you from me, the refinancing of the water and sewer bond debt. And of course, you will remember, of course, Bill Camp, Managing Director of Raymond James and Associates, had presented information to you at your regular round of committee meetings on August the 6th. And because we do have that balloon payment coming up, as you know. As we concluded the discussion, there was the expectation that Mr. Camp would have contact during this next month with us, and including the Carroll County Water Authority. If you remember, at the end of Mr. Camp's presentation and discussion, that he and the city attorney, Mr. McRae, left the room for discussion. And so what Mr. Camp has done is stayed in touch with us. And he and Matt Wyndham, the executive director of the Carroll County Water Authority, they've had telephone contact. We're trying to be sure that whatever procedural requirements need to be followed, we are following those. We also want to be sure that we have the best arrangement possible. I'm well aware that several years ago, that at least a number of people in Temple felt like that we got the short end of the stick on the arrangements that were made. And whether or not that's true or not, we are trying to be sure that whatever we do this time, that we're being treated fairly, and we would expect the Carroll County Water Authority to be treated fairly. At any rate, as results of contacts made, Mr. Camp, Mr. Wyndham, myself, and Mr. Wyndham, that we've got a meeting coming up. That meeting will be coming up on this Thursday afternoon. Cynthia and I and Bill Camp will be over at Matt Wyndham's office meeting with him and with their bond advisor, just to be sure that everybody's kind of on the same page in case we do go forward. We'll be reporting that to you at your meeting on September 4th. Now, once we report that to you, and Mr. McRae will not be here at the meeting next Tuesday night, but we'll be having conversations with him certainly in advance, and he will have somebody here. He'll give us good direction beforehand. I can't tell you that you will be ready to take action on September the 4th. If you are, then you can do that. If not, then I would think that we would want to have a special call meeting as soon as possible. I think and I'm trying to remember with whom I had talked earlier today, it may have been Mr. McRae, may have been somebody else, but we were talking about if we intend to get this done this year, we've got to get it on the stick.
With me.
And I thought so, but I didn't want to speak with the certainty there. And so Basically, it is one of those things, I think, is, I've given you a copy of a memo that you've seen before from Bill Camp, or at least I think maybe I've given it to you. This is a June 22 email to me from him, and then an exchange of emails the other day. But the bottom line, if you go back to the June 22 email, is just talking about that timing is important. We certainly don't want to, if we're going to do this, we don't want to be going at such a slow pace that interest rates have gone up before we get the thing done. So that's where we are. Just in terms of, I've given you some additional information. We had an open records request from citizen journalist Dawn Atkins that I provided her a lot of information back on August the 8th. And what I've given you is a copy of several things just for your information, because I think it's good information for you to have. My transmittal letter from her. We've got a copy that you've seen before of the analysis provided you by Mr. Camp, and some other information. This will enable you not only to have this, but you can keep it, all of this kind of together so that it'll be easier for you to keep up. That where we are at the moment is that, and Mr. McRae may have some comments to you, but we're just kind of trying to take this step by step from where we were last month, and by next Tuesday night, my hope is that we can talk to you about the City of Temple and the Carroll County Water Authority being pretty comfortable with that. We might work together to do this, or whatever the case would be. And we'll know more about that. If you look at the meeting on Thursday, it's not that we told Mr. McRae he was not welcome. He and I had a long conversation, and we decided that this meeting could be a discussion with the fiscal people, myself. If there were questions, we'd certainly follow up with him. But so my conversation with Mr. Wyndham was that this meeting would be focusing on what I just talked about and would not deal with legal issues involving the attorneys. If there are questions, I'd be glad to try to respond, and with whatever comments Mr. McRae might want to make. And we will have an agenda item for next Tuesday night in case you want to take some action. And if you don't, obviously, keep in mind what I just said. But that's where we are at the moment. Mr. McRae, anything you want to add?
No, I think the business decisions have to be made, and then what I assume Mr. Camp will provide for you from Raymond James is going to be rate structures. What we're talking about paying off and the costs and things. We went through that, as you remember, to some degree before, but if there's more than one scenario, and sometimes there are, depending on how the bond rate's going to be and front-end loads of how you do it and that sort of thing, you'll need to look at that from a business standpoint. Those guys going to need to look at it, give you some advice about that. But the main thing is, process takes no less than 60 days. So if you made a decision next Tuesday, and assuming everything went well, by the time you started and went through the bond documentation process, you'd be talking about before Thanksgiving. There are certain advertising requirements and things that says you got to do those a certain number of days before you can then do the bond validation proceedings as a public hearing requirement and this sort of thing. So all that process is in a calendar form that they put together that you follow. And Bill, you probably remember those where you do these various things at various steps. So we need to make a decision. And then, because Ms. Geyer is so smart to save you all this money on the interest rates, she can tell us what interest rates are going to do between now and the first of the year. And once she does that, she'll go to Washington
They're
and the
trending
Federal
up.
Reserve.
They're trending up.
They are.
They are.
You know, and And again, Bill said that, if you remember, at our last meeting. And as they are trending up, when's the Federal Reserve meeting again?
It's soon.
And I don't know that, but the speculation is that they'll move up another quarter point. So again, the second part of the issue becomes when you lock it, there's a point where you can lock the rates, well, like on your house, you know, building a new house, and when the rate structure is going to change, and we're going to lock that rate. And on the bond issue, that's going to be critical for you too, in case there are rate fluctuations. So all those things he needs to talk to you about Tuesday, and then you all need to make the decision. If not then, you still are uncomfortable, I'd say call a meeting if you want to just deal with that being kind of the sole agenda item for later in the month of September, but you need to deal with it in September if you can.
If we have that item as an agenda item, what would it be? Would it be to bring Bill Camp back in here to go over the rates and stuff with us again, or would it be to get something started on?
I'll get with Mr. McRae, it would be something like to consider taking action to do this and such, so that if you are ready to move forward, you'd be able to do that.
I can tell you tonight that the topic for the agenda for Tuesday would be preliminary discussion about potentially adopting a water and sewer bond referendum, water and sewer bond financing for Temple.
That's what we need to know, just what
Yeah.
the agenda item is.
That's right, and that's what it basically would be. And my thought is, you're not committed at this point, but as it relates to, I guess it'd be, we'll go back to the house analogy. If you're going to be going to 2 or 3 places to get your mortgage, you need to get your application in, you need to see what the rates are going to be, what the closing costs are going to be, and all those things. So Tuesday would be, we want to go ahead and get the application. I think that's what Tuesday is just the first preliminary step. And then I don't think it would be a bad idea, and I'm not one, as you can already tell, to have a bunch of meetings, but it might not be a bad idea to have a special meeting where you just get in the weeds on this thing, and this guy or to come have a look at it ahead of time, have Bill and his team come and say, here's the various things you can do. And you might remember he had front-end loads before, and what your rates may be, and kind of how you would handle all that. And savings, because you remember, that would change based on what the rate may be. So, but I'd start the process. You don't really get into any cost of what's going on until you make the decision, and if it's with the water authority, to enter into the agreement with them to actually do the financing. And that would be, let's talk about time frames. So let's assume that would be at the October meeting. Then by then, everybody around the table needs to be pretty comfortable with it if we're going to do it.
I think we need a meeting dedicated to just that.
And it's important. And it's that, I told you, you're tired of hearing me talk about it. I told you that probably the second time I was here, that that's the big matter that we've got to resolve. And so it's now time, in my opinion, in a rising rate environment to do just that.
Any more discussion? Mr. Mayor, I'd like to amend the agenda to add one more item under finance, please.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like Mr. Brightman to talk about, we're gonna talk about some new Christmas decorations that are coming, and he needs to let us know, we have the money there to do them. So he's gonna go over some Christmas decorations that we're gonna do.
The main thing is that it's a lease program, and that will involve voting on giving the mayor the authority to do that. So that needs to be on the agenda. Yes, it, because it's a lease.
Any discussion? All right, that ends mine.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, Public Works Committee, Tom Wallace.
Okay, the first thing on the agenda for that is continue the discussion from the July 30th city council meeting and from the August 6th city council meeting concerning the draft ordinance presented by City Attorney Michael Fraser entitled an ordinance revising water and sewer services and other purposes for the city of Temple. Mr. McCray.
As Mr. McRae starts, if y'all will just flip on over past that fairly lengthy attachment we want to sewer, you will find a memo to you from me, water and sewer revision ordinance, and Mr. McRae will explain to you what we got here.
Well, and you've seen it before. And at the last meeting, Howard brought up the issue of changing the contractor statement, which I did, and made that change. It's on the bottom of page 4. It's kind of a little, my little version, it's got a little kind of a gray looking by that bullet point. And Howard said, and I agreed with him, that if there's a question about how it reads, let's change it. And we're talking about contractor installed service connections. So I changed that to say that they pay 50% of the fees up front. And you see the old language is at the top of the next page. It's just clearer to me. The language is in better. And thank you, Howard, for that, catching that change. I didn't hear from anybody else about any other changes. And so, as far as I'm concerned, well, I couldn't get one right here on the left hand, but other than that, I'm ready for you to adopt it.
At the end of that paragraph, is that scratched out or is that highlighted? or-
Yes, that shows you the revision. That's right. And by the way, if we do these things and we're changing them, that's the way I do it every time, so you can see what I've done. I've taken whatever and deleted it out, put something else in.
I'm okay with that 1.5% increase as long as it's not automatic and we can vote not to do it.
That's right, and remember that what you'll do, Ms. Geyer's gonna have you on that basis of accomplishing that, and that is, you're gonna see how your rates are working. You gotta get to your coverage ratio, remember that, of 1.05 or higher. And once you've seen how your rates are coming in, what's happening with your receivables and what you're spending, then she's gonna be, and that will be done as part of bond issues, they're gonna give you kind of an artificial rate. And I wanna tell you this moving forward, because this will be, everybody in this room is young but me, and in several years from now, I'm not gonna be doing this, but you're gonna be looking at these rates again at some point. That's just the nature of what happens with water and sewer. I can't tell you how many of these I've done over the years because of rate changes. And so I'll say to you that when the last one I did for a water authority in another area is the coverage ratio was 1.05. And they had gotten their rate structure where they were in good rates, and getting good money in, they're saving money. They're probably, their ratio was say 1.7, just to use an example. And when they got ready to redo it, they got the greatest rate you've ever seen for a long period of time, because you look at their performance records over the last 3 or 4 years and they were great. Just like you're gonna get a lower rate on your house because your credit score's high. So remember that the one thing you do is you refinance now, but never forget that you've got to keep that rate structure annually, see what your inflationary costs are, see what you got to do, but you've got to keep up with that. The higher you get it above 1.05, the better off you are. For economic reasons, but especially for rate reasons later on if you ever have to do this again. Now, that's kind of off the subject, but I'm here to answer any other questions. I'm not going to kind of go over all these things. If you want me to, this is just a cleanup ordinance after you name original ordinance. I'll answer any questions you have.
Questions?
Mr. Bell?
You got one?
Yes.
Did you hear?
No, I was just.
Mr. McRae, just a procedural matter that I reported down in the last part of my note. Of course, back in August, what the council did after the discussion, they tabled the item to the meeting in September. Now, you've made a couple of minor changes, but we've changed the wording, so when we take this off the table, do we need to in the motion to approve, do we need to say anything in terms of revision to the motion that was tabled, or just more of a housekeeping change, take it off the table and approve?
And this will be posted on the website.
Yes,
So we posted.
yes, in fact, we had stuff already posted, we'll just keep it posted for the next meeting also.
And I would make a suggestion to Kristen. I don't know whether posting is difficult or not, but there's only one change. And if you wanted to post something as far as kind of how you do that, I just say from the original posting of the ordinance, there's been one change, here it is. Because people don't think, you know, all of a sudden we got one set of ordinances, now we got 7 more pages, it's a whole nother deal. I think it'd be a good idea to tell the public the only change that occurred is what we will now refer to as the wallet. And so, we'll have that one change. Other than that, everything else is like it was presented. That way they know about an update. And I think from Kristen's standpoint, too, that's what I do in the future. If you got stuff that we have changed for whatever reason, you're going to want to show that rather than having to go all the way back, especially if the longer the ordinance, the more the misery is of having to go back and try to compare one to the other, which is the reason I kind of did this. Just put up there what the difference is. That way Kristen could have a synopsis. The only difference in this from what was originally posted is thus and so, and people out there in the public can see it. That's all I got, and I will not be here next Tuesday, but I hope you adopt my ordinance next Tuesday.
Okay, moving on to number 2, report on the possible placement of a bench in front of the City Hall in memory of a local citizen, Mr. Johnson, Mayor Johnson.
Yes, this is regarding the recently deceased Linda Williams. A citizen by the name of Sharon Mobley would like permission from the council to place a memorial bench and plaque on the sidewalk out here just under Mr. Osborne's window. It will be fastened, if you approve it, it will be fastened to the cement very soundly so that hopefully no one will bother it. But Linda was a lifelong resident of Temple, and the circumstances here are very unique, unmatched in the past, and I predict that they'll be unmatched in the future because she began, after graduating high school in 1963, she began working for the Bank of Temple in 1963. And later on in 1976, that became the Bank of Carroll County. And she, I think after stops at West Georgia National and Citizens and Merchants Bank of Bremen, she returned to the Bank of Carroll County in 1976, which was then housed at where we have our library currently. And she worked there through 2003 with the Bank of Carroll County, then it became Citizens Bank and Trust, then it became Bank of North Georgia, then it became Synovus. So the connection here is to this building because it was previously, it was the last branch of what is now Synovus Bank. And so she would just like to honor her with that memorial because of her connection to this building and to the bank that used to be in this building. In addition to her bank work, of course, we know she was honored a few months ago by this council for her service to the Zoning and Planning Commission, which she started, I don't know, she started working on that in maybe 2003 or so. I'm not certain of that date. 2007. And then she worked for the Board of Elections and was manager in our precinct from 2003 until her death. So she's been very active in the committee and the community, and there are other things that I could cite that I think all of us sitting here know her history pretty well. So that will be presented to you for your decision on Tuesday night, as far as granting permission for this memorial bench and plaque. Any questions? Anything you want me to look into beyond what I've shared? I'll be glad to. Yes, sir.
I think it's probably a good idea. I'm just, what would be the quality of the bids and what would be the materials that would be made? Bronze, metal, or wood, or wrought iron?
I can check on that. I'm knowing the folks as well as I know them, they've been my neighbors for 30-something years. I anticipated it's first-rate stuff, but I'll check on the materials so I can report back to you on that. Also, the hardware for the mounting in the cement has already been, it will be provided. So the city, the only thing involved with the city will be the public works staff doing the installation. But I'll check on materials.
Any other? Okay, we'll move to number 3, updated staff report on the Carroll County Peace Block referendum to be held in conjunction with the 2018 general election on November the 6th. Mr. Oliver.
You go to your next tab, and I do have a brief cover note, but just to remind us that the Peace Lodge for Carroll County is out there. Be voted on November the 6th. Very important. I think that people in the community know about this referendum and are aware of what would be done if it's approved. Then they make up their mind as to what they want to do. What I wanted to do tonight, just from an information standpoint, is to make you aware of what the county is beginning to promote, because I do think it's advantageous for us to kind of make sure we're coordinating with the county on this in terms of getting information out. And what you will see, this is next is a fact sheet. I think I'm right that this actually was prepared by the city of Carroll for the countywide referendum. And you can see it kind of gives you very much of a global view of how the money would be spent. Following that is a sheet, fact sheet, a one-page fact sheet that you can see. At the top, it's got a fellow changing the traffic signal, but it gives you the very much bullet points, information that you can use if you were trying to talk to people about the squash. And then the next thing I have given you is a document that goes on for a number of pages, and I had Kristen actually print these in full color so that you get the effect of it. And I think in terms of if you want to, as an elected official, look at, okay, if you're going to be talking with people about countywide squash, what are the key talking points? What do you need to know in order to have a good grasp of this? And we tried to give that to you. I did not include another copy of what you received on 2 or 3 past occasions, that being the list of possible projects for the city of Temple that you have approved. You've already got it. If you need another copy, there's some right over there next to Ms. Johnson that you can pick up. But I wanted you to have this other information. I do think, next Tuesday night, unless you have something you want on the agenda on T-Splash, don't plan to ask that you have anything on that to consider, but I do think that during the first half of September, maybe when we have special call meetings such as Mr. McRae had mentioned a minute ago, we might want to spend just a little time on T-Splash, because I think from mid-September, that next 6 to 7 weeks, as it always is the case in the general election, is key. And You did vote 4-1 in favor of all of this, so having voted majority of you, I think certainly we need to put the information out there. I'm not talking about telling people what to do with voting, but information to know what would be involved. The questions, I'd be glad to try to respond, but basically this item is just to be sure that from a staff standpoint, we're giving you the information you need on each block.
Any questions? Okay, item number 4, updated staff report on the request for proposal being sent to the 6 major U.S. water meter manufacturers for the purchase of and installation of new water meters and new water meter operating system in the city of Temple. Rob?
I'll start it off, and Wayne may have a couple of comments he wishes to make to you also, but we are trying to get in a position of getting out the request for proposals for the purchase and installation of the new water meters. We presented some information to you in the past, and one of the things that was a key recommendation from Dwayne, myself, and Howard Ray is that we would not send the request for proposal to a whole bunch of companies that work in this area, but in the U.S. there are 6 major manufacturers of water meters, and that we would send the RFP to those 6 major manufacturers. And as I list them here as I have before, you would recognize at least some of them alphabetically: Badger, Hershey Meters, Master Meter, Mueller Systems, Neptune, Census. And if you remember at GMA, as we've talked about this before, that I think that some of you were particularly impressed by an exhibit that we had, Badger Meter, but in conjunction with them, they had their Southeast distributor, representative National Meter and Automation out of Nashville, if you remember. And in the same way, we're currently using contract for some services from Kendall Metering Systems, which basically is the entity in our area that is the distributor for Census. But we expect to be able to provide you with a copy of the draft RFP in the next few days. Then if you have any feedback to us, because we want to try to get this out to the 6 manufacturers. And if you go back a month ago or several weeks ago, I had given you a copy of the sample request for proposal that Dwayne had obtained for us, and I have used that in terms of trying to do some tailoring of a draft RFP from our standpoint. And Dwayne got that from Mueller Systems. We had to get it from somewhere. Mueller Systems is as good a place as any. But if that RFP being from Mueller Systems, every place in there where it talked about what you need to do is that it would identify the particular Mueller piece of equipment, and you'd say you need to do that, Mueller System or equal. Well, I didn't think Badger and Neptune would think that we were being totally objective if we sent that to them, keeping quoting Mueller System. So we're in the process of making sure that where those references are, that we've got, in some cases it may say Mueller or equal, some cases it may say Neptune or Master Meter, so that we're trying to be objective with this. The other is that had a brief meeting the other night with Howard Ray after the Planning Commission on the Development Code, and Howard said he wanted to just take a look at the request for proposal, the last one that Carroll County Water Authority had sent out. And so I contacted Matt Wyndham, and he has tried on 2 different occasions to electronically transmit that. And as Kristen will tell you, and as Mr. McRae can tell you, sometimes multi-page transmissions sometimes don't come through here. So I've got to go to Carrollton tomorrow, and Matt's got this thing ready for me to pick up. So Dwayne, you and I probably get together before the end of the day, so we can start looking at that, because we do need to wrap this up so we can get the RFP out. And we'll give you a copy to take a look at. A couple of things that I would just mention, and then whatever questions you may have or comments that Dwayne may have, is that we're talking, as you know, of approximately close to 1,900 meters, of which all but about 150, 175 are residential meters. We have, if you look what we've got in the ground and the few that we have in reserve, essentially, we will be buying, I'm guessing, 85 to 90% of the meters that will eventually be in the ground. And one of the things that Dwayne and I talked about just a little bit, we'll have to look at, don't have to make a decision on that now, is that, but I'm thinking that probably we'll be looking at replacing all of our meters, not ending up with 8 or 9% being different from everything else. Even if they hadn't been used long and we take them out, we'd probably resell them or somebody. But so that we're totally uniform, nobody can complain that my subdivision didn't get, we got stuck with the old meters. That would mean that there would be the cost for all of those. But anyway, Dwayne, any comments you want, and then we'll open up any questions that people may have.
I think we have about 1,900 residential and about 900 commercial. I think that's the number that I got from the utility billing department. And with this RFP, we will be asking for AMR as well as AMI. I think what you saw with the AMI technology was the fixed base network. Basically what they'll do, they'll do a propagation, they'll come around and see what assets we have, and, whether an antenna actually go like a water tower or something like that. That's where you basically don't have to go out and redo it. Basically just hit a button, all the readings come in. That's the AMI technology. That's the news technology.
And we did, if you go back, I think it was 2 months ago, we gave you, along with whatever report I made to you, we gave you the first 4 or 5 pages from that RFP that Dwayne got from Mueller Systems. And so what he was just talking about, what is it, the AMI, ARI? That don't want to confuse you, not be confused. That you can see in that opening section of the RFP, it gives you some little bit of background, then we get into the more technical part of the RFP. So, Mr. Chairman, that's my report. If there are questions, we'll take them.
On the RFPs, are we gonna do, is labor and installation in there, or are we looking at a whole new company? Will we be asking if they could install them?
Yes, that would be included.
Okay.
Yeah, would be the purchase and the installation is what we're talking about.
Anything else? That concludes Public Works Committee.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wallace. Now go to Parks and Recreation Committee, Chairperson Richard Brightman.
Item number 1, updated report concerning the construction and equipping of planned addition to the kitchen area of the City of Temple Senior Center, which was approved by the council.
All right, if you look at your
How are you?
next section, you'll find a memo from Mr. Osborne regarding this matter, and on the next page, series of pages, I think you have put together a section of pages where the first page is contract pricing value engineering. And if you'll give your attention to that, please, we will quickly just identify the things that were discussed in the meeting that Mr. Osborne described in his memo. And you see three things that were adjusted. First of all, the stainless steel shelving. It was presented that we could buy that on our own and assemble it and put it in the storage room on our own, and thus save $5,090.50. And then to substitute for spray foam insulation, use BAT R30, and that would save us nearly $1,300. And then to use an interlock roof system instead of standing seam, and that would save $1,850. So that would cut the price down to $105,632.50. Mr. Osborne.
One bad for the news, Mr. Mayor, with that is that we like that because while we will have the deduct of a little over 5,000 from them, we still gonna have to buy this stainless steel. So
That's right.
we probably are talking about cutting it from 113, maybe down. We may save $5,000 if we do, and it's certainly worth the 2 meetings that the mayor and I had with them. We don't need any further action. You had approved going forward with the project with this company, but you asked that the mayor and I meet to see if we could reduce the cost. And like I say, I think we will save probably over that original bid price of somewhere around $5,000.
Any questions? Number 2, report on the response to the City of Temple's request for sealed bids for construction of a new 2-story press box in the city park, with the deadline for receipt of bids being 4 p.m. Monday, August 27th, today. Mr. Osborne.
Well, I'll make a couple of comments. Mr. Wilson may have a couple of comments. Is that we've given you, if you remember, we requested sealed bids. With the deadline being at 4 p.m. today, we did get in 2 bids. One of these is a very high bid. If you go back and Mr. Wilson can refresh your memory on this, but he had given you a range of what he thought the cost might be for this press box, and these people were way over that. We also had a bid from Dale Reinhardt, River Bottom Farms, who you all know that does a lot of work for us. And his bid was $28,750. And I'd say, Mr. Wilson, based on what you had looked at, that's a good bid for us. So, what you want to make?
Just that other one who bid that, the high one, that was a prefabricated building as well. Like they would make the building and ship it here, but that still didn't include the installation. Like they just bring it out, and we still have to get the building set and put it in the ground.
So,
That's not apples to oranges at all.
but,
I mean, that's not apples to apples, that's apples.
what we'll do is, and we'll have you more information for your meeting next Tuesday night. Joe, we need to get with Mr. Reinhardt, because his bid, he had about 3 or 4 lines of description in there, and we'll need to get some more detail from him. But it is certainly in line with what Joe had talked about the cost is. And the other part of this, Mr. Chairman, we all can decide before you really vote on this next Tuesday night, we'll have it ready, is that you will recall that the press box was something that had been on some list and not been on others. And what we presented to you recently, you agreed that let's go so we'll see what we're talking about. It does fit within the cost margins that Joe had identified to you. He can make some comments to you as he wishes, as you heard before, is why he feels like he needs a gas line. So if we are going to do it, we probably need to move on.
Does anybody have any questions about this? I know some of you requested to look at what's what, so you get that. All right, if not, make sure that's on the agenda for us. The next is, you go, staff report on plans for the fall season and parks and recreation activities, including the athletic leagues. So you're on.
It should be over.
Oh, yeah. Did everybody have that? There was a addition, it looks like this. It looks like this.
We're pretty much just staying where we are right now when the season will start for each sport.
So Joe, the way this looks, we have probably about, what, 150 kids, or 200 kids in the fall?
No, we close to 300. We probably have I think my last count was at 280 something total.
So all those teams have 21, or the
Well,
football teams have?
The football teams are bigger. A couple of soccer teams are pretty big too. So,
Is that healthy big, or is it necessity big? In other words,
Is it lack of
is it because you
coaches
have
or-
lack of coaching, or?
well, no. Typically in the fall, the numbers go to football. We
Right.
usually have more kids playing football. Like we only have one baseball team, and that's in the 10U age group. So, but the majority of the baseball kids are playing football. And we have a lot of playing soccer. So, most of the coaches that coach in the spring coach in the fall. Soccer.
All right, any questions? Go ahead.
Is volleyball something we've added? No, we have volleyball.
We've been doing it about three seasons.
Yeah, no.
It's been pretty popular. And I met with 3 playground reps, waiting on their quotes to come back. I have a meeting Wednesday with another rep here at the playground. So as soon as I get their quotes, I'll get them into you.
All right, any other questions? All right, and then the next one is preliminary staff report on plans this fall to improve communication among the staff, youth sport participants, and their parents, city officials, and involved citizens. Is that where you're talking about?
Basically, if you go back to about 3 months ago, you remember we had several people that come that made some complaints concerning different operations in our parks and recreation program. And I had presented a report to you saying that, felt like we had people that were unhappy with the program. We got a lot of people that are happy with the program, but we needed to reach out and hear from people regardless of whether they were pro or con with different things going on. We held off on that because all of you know, our committee chairman has been traveling for the last several weeks.
How did you travel?
But now that he's returned to the nest, and we're trying to move forward on this, and Mr. Franklin and I had a meeting earlier this week on this, and I'm going to ask him to just give you the report on his thoughts on it that I concur with, and so, go ahead, sir.
One thing that we thought that would be kind of advantageous for all of us is if we kind of generally gave people an opportunity and a little bit more of a relaxed, not relaxed, but in a different format. Perhaps just have a committee meeting at the rec department and like having it open for the public, so that anybody that wants to come in, under the absolute, it is not a format to discuss the unemployed period. That would not be, it would be a respectful manner with suggestions and ideas of how to make it better, how to come up with the funding. And kind of give people an opportunity to get on the same page, hear from us, and have Joe and his staff there. But it would be formatted just like any other hearing we have. A maximum amount of time each person would be able to speak. But it would give us an opportunity to really get an idea of, what is the issue? What is the solution? And where do you come up with the money to pay for it? That type of thing. So that's it. Like I say, it would be structured in such a way that anyone who wanted to come and to be, an attack on or anything to do with the performance of one of our employees would not be available. That's not the purpose. The purpose is to look and see exactly what is it. What do you want? What do you want? What is your expectation? That kind of thing. Okay. So I guess the next thing would be set the date. We'll set the date and then get it out to the coaches and let everybody come in. Sometimes if people have an opportunity to just kind of give their ideas and suggestions, you can get some great ideas. And if there are issues further than that, then we will give them an opportunity to address them in a different way. But this will be, what is your expectation for a rec department in the city of Campbell? And just see where it goes. Okay? And second way here, Joe, and while we were talking about this, I need to add an item to the agenda, if I might. Joe, there were a couple of things, and I know this has kind of been in discussions all over the place. We know that there's repairs being done to the concession stands, to the restroom, trying to get all that up to par and get those cleaned out. There is even an idea of perhaps having one of those fitted so that we can keep it open all the time. And there was also discussion about the fencing and a couple. I think it's one that has major problems with the fencing, maybe.
The fields?
Yeah, I mean,
Several.
my question to you is, do you think maybe we might need to also kind of address this as far as how to get it, if we need that to go on, to go on the splash, or if we need to kind of take a look at that and to get those?
Yeah, well, I had it on my list for next year's budget. So when we start doing the talks for planning for next year, it was one of the things I had on my list.
Do you think it might be something that we might want to look at for, splash funding?
We got the money out.
Well, I think that all of us would need to know, I think what we would need to know, regardless, if we're going to put it in next year's budget and we're going to do splash, that maybe we can get some ideas and some costs. And at least give the council an opportunity to see if they want to take it out of budgeted funds.
Yes.
Or if they want to take it from splash.
Well, I had the group that came and did the fencing up there while they were here. I had him go around and look, and he gave me an estimate. He told me, based on what he told me, that's what I was going to put in for.
But that might be something that come off of the splash. And if you don't know what we're talking about, there's one of the fields is worse than the others, and it's just over the years, the fence is let go and just kind of curled up like my hair does sometimes when I have hair. And to get it to come back down, it's kind of impossible to repair it. And if you've ever been out when little kids are playing and the ball goes under the fence and they're all trying to run, it's kind of not a cool thing. And the other thing is that there's a combination of vandalism and a number of things that's happening in the restrooms. But it's also the fact that if there's going to be people out there, they need to have a restroom. And that's an absolute, and we know that we're going to have broken sinks and we're going to have things of that nature. But the discussion with Joe was maybe seeing if there are things that we can do to make it a little more vandalism, where you can't stop vandalism, but that bring back for the council to look at. Because I think all of us are in agreement that if somebody's out there walking or somebody's out there doing, they need to have a place to go to the restroom. So maybe if you could, if you've already got the price of one, maybe you can get the others and bring them back and at least let's talk about whether we should do it through Splash or whether we should do it through the voting process. You know, get the figures to Guy, see what we got, see if there's a prospect to do. Is that okay?
Yes.
That's good. Thank you.
Richard, and if we do it out of SPOS funds, we can do it more quickly than we can if we wait for the budget.
Yes, because if we budget it, you can't do the project until close to the time for the season start. That's the reason I thought maybe it might be. That's a great thing to do, that might help you out going at it, about getting it done a little bit quicker. But okay? All right. So you got some estimates, you're halfway there. All you gotta do now is worry about getting your restrooms kind of consistently together. Okay?
All right.
Appreciate it, Joe. Good job.
And can I
Sure, absolutely, whatever.
I know it's jumping back to the
That's okay.
conversation about the meetings and everything. And I actually wasn't here when the folks came to speak or whatever, but this is a text that I received from the person who was here. So, and just to tell you, I know a lot of stuff come with the territory, but that, that's what I received from the same person who was in here and bad mouthing me. Just wanted to make that aware, put that out there. So,
All right. Anything else, Joe?
no, that's it.
All right. Wraps it up. Mr. Mayor?
All right, thank you, sir. Next to Public Safety Committee, Chair Howard Walton.
Sir. Chief here, he's in a quiet period. Here he comes. Hello, Chief. Okay, we're gonna have a report by Chief, please.
I guess I don't know if Mr. Osmond put y'all part of the stats in the booklets, but I got another stats on
Making sure we all got one. We get one. We got another one there. Good. Yeah, now we all have one.
Y'all can look on there, it's showing the tickets on the hands-free device. How many we wrote, how many ones we got so far. And they gonna tell you how many it is. We just warn verbally and just let them. I see them all the time, but my Twitter, so it ain't worth the risk to stop.
I'm laughing because in the last 3 days or 4, I've seen 2 or 3 folks driving around, not some here in Tillable, but some, they got it up there like this, like big as, like it doesn't apply to them.
Some of them forgetting about it, they think that they had got stopped yet, when the points hit those licenses.
And insurance will go up.
Oh, yeah. Y'all pay close attention to the investigation stats to, solving quite a few cases. But we still got quite a few open, but doing the best we can, we're doing pretty good at it.
Are you finding that it's getting a little better with having a full staff? That's the first time.
Yes, sir.
In how long years that you've had a full
Yeah,
staff?
well, we never had this many.
Yeah.
I think the most we've ever had was, I want to say 12,
Yeah,
and now we're up to department of 19.
that's total.
Just total dispatch, yeah. But anyway, I also wanted to pass these along. This is something I just created for domestic violence victims. I want you all to keep one of these so you can kind of be informed of what's going on with domestic violence here in Temple. And maybe if you get somebody who decide to ask you a question, anything, you got some kind of information you can follow up on too, besides having to just dial us or dial 911. This is something that you have to give out to victims on domestic violence. It's actually a liability for the city, letting them know who to contact, where and when and how, and what funds is available for domestic violence victims. All officers will be carrying these in the vehicle, so when they have a domestic violence case or something, they should be pamphlets out to the victims as well.
Are the investigations going a lot better now since you got 2 investigators?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, yes. They dividing cases up. We got crimes on person, crimes on property. They did, most of the sergeants, she usually take all the crimes on persons, majority of the time. And the other investigator take the crimes on property. And we pretty much solved a lot of it. You can look on your stats to see compared to years back. I mean, if you got one investigator, by the time you start working on one thing, it can 5 more other things, and it kind of, now you got to start on that. And you know, hesitant about what you're doing on this person, you try to go by priority. So now we're able to still keep them all moving. And I check them on a daily basis, make sure they're moving pretty good with the GBI and everything. And GBI been doing real well with giving us back our results from fingerprints and whatever we need. So it's going pretty good. We just completed that training too with GBI down at the symposium, so it helps out a lot too. And the training that the officers receive.
Is another officer for next year still on your wish list?
It's always, the more officers, the better it is for the community. That's something I can tell you. Yes, it would be. I thought about still part-timers, still where we don't have to worry about paying benefits. Just put enough money in there in the budget for part-timers, but that'll be a good help too, mainly with court. Yeah, and we can save some of the overtime with the officers because what's going on, the courts has increased, as y'all can see, the CJT funding and all that stuff is expanded. So now we're running 3 courts. And when you got 3 courts, you got to run at least 3 or 4 officers at 8 hours per officer. So that's what a lot of the overtime is doing with court. So we get, maybe next year, another full-time or part-time, a couple of part-times I can use them to run court. Somebody that's already mandating everything to run court, and they just be specifically for court. And the only time the officers will have to really come to court is when they have cases. We also getting ready, I know I hadn't heard much about the Founders Day. I guess I need to go to one of the meetings. We get prepared for the Founders Day as well. We're going to try to do a raffle again and some other stuff for the kids at the Founders Day. It's going to be a good day. So I'm looking forward to it, and the rest of the officers looking forward to it. And we got something else I want to do too, a little bit after Founders Day, something like that car wash I had mentioned for the kids and stuff. I want to give some stuff out to the children, cook some hot dogs and hamburgers, invite y'all out to it too as well. So just something to have a positive impact on the community, that's all.
You might want to attend the next events committee meeting. Don't y'all have one more of those?
2 more.
2 more events committee meetings. Which one do you do?
Yeah, yeah, type. You probably look good today.
I did.
I don't think they know what it means. Anybody got any questions?
I got a question.
Yeah.
I noticed something Saturday morning, and I was just wondering, on I-20, where, you know, it splits off, there was 2 police vehicles, and of course, I guess they were there all day. Is that officers that are on duty, or are they working?
No,
On the
Is
side?
there Temple officers out there?
I'm pretty sure it was, but I think,
Because you got Billy Rick out there too.
it might have been now,
Why is
because
there-
I was on top of, I was on the bridge, and they were the black,
SUV, because
Yeah.
now you got
Like,
Georgia
they-
DOT is out there too. But if you saw a police car, Temple, no, we definitely not on, working duty, that's
Right.
the side thing, you know. But, no, I wouldn't dare have an officer out there on duty.
well, I
Then you
didn't
got
think they
different
were,
anyway.
but I know, you know,
Yeah.
a lot of the cities and counties are on the expressways
Yeah.
now, and they just sit there all day with their light flashing.
That's all it is.
Slow the traffic down.
Mhm.
But is that something that the city, they pay the officers to do, or
Yes, sir.
just how does that work?
Mhm. Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's all we do is sit there.
Okay. But it would be a different, would it take away an officer that normally would be,
Mm-mm.
okay,
Usually, every officer, before he goes out there, he's off.
okay.
Nobody-
Okay.
It's on his off day.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, he still represents Dick, I mean, because he has to be in uniform, and he has that card, he still, anything in emergency, we still can respond to it.
I thought that's how it worked, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Are they doing that at a time when they don't work that shift and then go
Yeah.
straight to work with the city?
Yeah, no, I just want to make sure everybody get the rest, the proper amount of rest. So what happens, we select the officers that are off, either just say for instance, now if you got one getting off, he worked a 12-hour shift, we still want to buy him time so he can work the next day if he's off for 8 hours out there, 4 hours. They use this for 4 hours at minimum, up into 8 to 10 to 12 hours. But no, not an officer that's working on the shift, we don't use them out there.
I got one more question. We used to have the badge numbers on all the cars. Did we get away from doing that?
No, actually, I was going, what happened is when I got to deal with the guy that does the letter, he was putting the numbers on the car instead of the badge, because the reason why we don't put the badges on, because the fleet, you got old cars now, they're breaking down. So if I put your badge number on the car, and it's at the impound lot somewhere, and then you drive a spare car, you ain't that officer driving that car, so we use it by numbers. The badge numbers, we only had like back then, Mr. What, 5 officers.
Well, is the badge number different from
Yeah, the badge number is different from the vehicle number.
from the car number?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you're 401?
I'm 408. Nah, I
You're
never took
408?
401. I just didn't want that.
Okay.
But anyway, but like I said, you put the badge number on the car, and then you borrow my car, because that's what happens sometimes. When we get down in cars, I might call the officer that's closer here and say, hey, I need somebody to come out and get your car. Then they drive the car with his badge number on it, and if they make an improper turn or do something crazy, the public gonna say, I just saw 410. You get it, it might be 2 weeks later, they complain about it, but we thinking it's that officer, and it's another officer that was driving his car. So you want to just put the numbers on the car so we can keep up the numbers better.
We need some way to identify who's in the vehicle because you can't tell.
Well, yeah, we got numbers on the cars, that's what I'm saying. If that sheet I gave y'all first, it has the number on the vehicle, and it has the officer that's driving that car.
Okay, so all of them are.
Yeah, they are. And I'm still, it's a few of them that don't have them, and I'm working on getting them on, that he lettered, and when he done the designs on the car, he didn't put the numbers on it. But eventually, I'm working on that. So therefore, you can see a car, you say it was T14, we know who T14 is. Versus, like I said, you don't want to put that badge on it because that officer's switching out cars. Just like today, we got one car broke down this weekend, and he's borrowed another car. And you don't want to get him mixed up with somebody else, you know.
But that's the way y'all used to do it.
Yeah, we used to have the numbers on the cars, I think on the top of the car, something like that. But we, like I said, we only had 4 or 5 officers in it. Now we triple that amount, so, and then switching cars.
Anybody got anything else, the chief? Is that concluded your report, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you for being here. Scala here, he is here. We got a report by the code enforcement officer.
Well, I think everybody has a copy of report I gave. Things look pretty good this month. The city's looking really great, Marie Street's looking really great, so I haven't really found any really horrible things. Amir and I was working with the Masons, the Mason building over there on Driver Street, is it?
Road Street.
Yeah,
Road driver.
So we talked with a descendant of one of the old officers, so we're trying to work on ownership issues right now, but they agreed they're gonna block it up, mark it as no trespassing, and they're gonna try to get the ownership squared away. And then I spoke with you on Thursday night about the vacant and foreclosed building. We got our first letters out in the mail, the water bill's going out. It should be posted on the city's website, and I think we're even gonna do a little link on the Facebook page to the website. So that should be it. And then finally, what was I supposed to talk about?
It says,
First citation.
issuance of first citation.
Okay, yeah, we have our new citation system. I work with Lieutenant Hollywood, and we served our first citation to Venable Road. Everything went well on that. There's a court date of that of September 28th. The second one we're trying out is 340 Bill Rosa Place. They tried to serve her citation. They couldn't find her. They sent one to the mail, and she hasn't signed it. So that goes to where? Do we put it in the newspaper saying?
Yes, and before you do that, you'll need to contact us about
Okay.
the publication. The camp, you can't.
Is that the fire damage house?
That's Fire Damage House in Bill Rosa. So we're working those two right now through the citation process. Everything's going fairly well. And then we have two others coming up that we're gonna start working that process as well. And Tim Holloway's been really helpful on it, so good coordination there.
George, what about that property that's behind the tattoo parlor?
The
That's
Wall
still
Street
sitting there?
warehouse?
Yes, it's just still standing.
Well, that recently sold to the people who own the tattoo parlor and out over the tracks and the other buildings there. They just bought that. And I talk with him on a regular basis, and he's getting it weed eated, getting it sprayed down. They had to kill the big weeds first so they could get in there. And then, if you notice how they work, they never extend themselves over their budget, so it's a slow-moving process, but he's trying to stabilize the building, so there is forward momentum there.
Good.
That's the big old warehouse building.
That's the old cotton gin, right? So things are moving good in that direction.
That was Susan doing that.
Mhm.
So I was really proud about that.
Oh, one more quick, is he putting a restaurant in? I
That
had
is
more
like
people ask me
that's a
that.
little coffee shop, like a little open-air coffee shop, and it's gonna have ice cream and coffee and things like that.
And it's called Over the Tracks.
Over the track.
Yeah, it's got
Yeah,
the
it's got the
sign numbers,
sign.
and it's got the phone numbers.
Did you say ice cream?
Yes, I said ice cream there.
No,
He would make homemade ice cream, he'd make one money.
They've been working
Well,
on
I
it
ain't
every
even know that,
day.
because I don't like ice
Like,
cream.
you can't call them.
Murals, I mean, everything, and the ironworks on the doors and all. Looks
I can't wait to see what they do with the old gin, old cotton gin. That ought to turn
Yeah,
out
that'd
really,
be-
really nice.
It'll make a little difference.
Oh, and I need to ask a question, somebody texted me, and I sent them to you, about they want to put apartments in some of the buildings uptown. They're looking at buying
Well, that would involve a mixed-use ordinance, and right now it's not mixed use. I think that's zone CG.
Yeah.
So,
So that's not,
So we had talked
that's
to
not
George
gonna happen
about
now, but maybe in the future.
Okay.
probably heard that talked about at the steering committee. Because that was one of the things that was discussed there, that possibly with the new interest in the downtown area, that might be part of it, is a multi-use apartments up top. So that was one of the suggestions that was in that spirit, in the spirit.
People would take it, all right, I think that's what they did.
They're
Yes,
asking.
they're asking for that side of the track.
Yeah, across the track.
But there's no reason.
And along with that possibility, we're researching how to get quiet community status with the railroad so that through the night hours, they will blow the horns.
That'd be awesome.
Anything else from Mr. Shaw? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thanks for being here.
Keep up the good work.
All right, goes on to go back to the mayor.
All right, thank you, sir. Personnel Committee, chaired by Richard Brightman.
Report by the city attorney concerning revisions to the city of Temple employee handbook. Mr. McCray.
There will not be revisions to the City of Temple employee handbook. Our advice has been for a long period of time to do away with the handbook and come up with a more modernized personnel ordinance. I provided you with rock marks. Now, there are certain specific provisions of that ordinance. I sent it again to Kristen this afternoon in Word too.
So we don't have that. We haven't had that.
We had it months ago.
Because you said hold off and you'd send it to us.
I sent it. Second time.
The first time we didn't get it because we were told to hold off. Either way, we don't have anything.
Well, let me say this. What I would always want you to do is to review documents that I've seen. I don't normally send something that I would tell you to not look at. So to the extent that you're not getting them, just let me know, and I'll be glad to send it again today. Bill wanted the Word version, and I sent that forward. So just want to be sure now that you have it in Word format this afternoon. So what I'll need for you to do is to review the document in detail. There are certain provisions I want to bring to your attention tonight. If you would write these down, this isn't going to be hard for all of you to look at as you do this. The ordinance itself that I propose is about 116 pages long. And in part one, now you review anything you want to, but we've got a couple of comments, but let's go to it. It's in three basic parts. Part Roman numeral 1 under Part J is the take-home vehicle policy. I don't know if you allow folks to take vehicles home now, but that policy would be specific to Temple. And I would think it's different in every city as who takes them home and where they take them, that sort of things. Part 2, there are three parts to that. Part A is compensation. And again, that's going to be specific to Temple. Part C is group benefits. Same thing. And Part E is something that Rockmart offers, and I don't know if Temple offers it or wants to offer it. It's educational assistance program. Example, you'd have a wastewater, I don't know what the designation schedule is, but say a wastewater 2 operator that wants to become a 1, and you're going to give them the right to do that and they'll pay for it in that sort of business. So that would be educational assistance program that you would need to look at. Part 3 is employee relations. All of it's important. I think that's the most important part. Under that, subparagraph B is standards of conduct. And what the standards of conduct consist of is anything and everything that the employee would do that would create a problem. On duty, off duty, whatever it may be. Those standards of conduct I got from about 3 or 4 different places. And there's nothing about standards of conduct that's all inclusive. If y'all want to, and I know it's my job to be the lawyer, but you're welcome to look at things that are important about standards of conduct for Temple. Look at it, Look at other places, you can go on the municipal code and see what their standards of conduct are. If you think we've missed something that's important, let's put it in there. Because what happens in discipline is when somebody violates a standard of conduct that you have. And I bet you I got, 50 or 60 of them. You may want less, you may want more, you may want it to be more specific, but that's in subparagraph B. Numbers, subparagraph C. We talked about this before, and I want to tell you a material difference in Rockmart's manual you'll be looking at. Under discipline, this again is subparagraph C. Rockmart's manual is manager-only discipline. In your case, it would be city administrator-only discipline. As it relates to department heads, that's handled, you do not have an HR person. In Rockmart, they do, so it would be handled by department head, somebody independent of the city manager. But then the appeal is to the city manager. Several other cities we've done for department heads, the decisions by the city manager to begin with. I'm talking about disciplinary decisions. The appeal is to the personnel committee or the city as a whole. Now, I want to stop right there and say that in the past, when we've talked about it, there have been varying discussions around this table with former elected officials and newly elected officials, varying discussions about what you do in connection with discipline. I'm going to start off with, I would just call it your regular rank and file employees. They have a department. And there's been a lot of discussion that in connection with the appeal of decisions of an employee, it should be the city administrator and the mayor and council. I've been doing this for 40-something years now, a long time. Every time the city council anywhere, I'm not talking about Temple, I'm talking about anywhere, gets involved in politics of employee discipline, it is a disaster. An absolute disaster. And the reason it's a disaster is, number one, you're going to make part of your voting public mad and part of them not mad, depending on what you do. Number two, somebody will have done something wrong and they'll pack this place full of folks to tell you you've known X all their lives and they made a mistake, and we want you to go over the head of the police department chief who's up back there, the city administrator who's right there, and we want you to make a political decision about this employee. I'm going to say it again, it is an absolute disaster for you to get involved with. The only time I've seen the television trucks come to places that we represent is when the city council gets involved in those kind of decisions. So I do not recommend that you become involved in regular employee decisions. That's why you hire a department head. That's why you hire your city administrator. Now, with regard to department heads, there's a number of ways to do that, and it is different in that there's got to be a check and balance with the department head. And I'm not saying this as it relates to Bill Osborne's law. Whoever it may be, there could be a material difference in opinions about something. And the city administrator takes it out on the department head. You need to have a check and balance there, so that if there's discipline matters with the department head, do you want your personnel committee involved with your city administrator at the front end? I'm not answering it. I'm just saying you got to make that decision. And then if there's an appeal from that decision, who's going to make that? Is that going to be the mayor and council as it relates to department heads? Is it going to be your personnel committee? Or what Rockmart has is a third party to do. Now, recently I was asked by the city of Carrollton to become involved in a personnel matter involving that level. And when they asked me to do it, they wanted me to be the hearing officer. And so the question is, if it's at a higher level, that would be your folks at the department head level. do you want to have a third-party hearing officer to be involved, to make recommendations to the mayor and council? We're not answering those questions tonight. I just want y'all to think about how you want to handle that from the standpoint of disciplinary level appeals and reviews. And we'll go over this again. Employees are one, department heads are two. Your city clerk and your city administrator serves at the pleasure of the mayor and council. And do you want to have your personnel committee review those and how you want to handle those? Those are exempt employees from your policy. You can put something in your policy about them. The next thing is a grievance policy. Some places have it, some places don't. I like it because it gives somebody the right who thinks there's a problem, and there's not going to be a retaliation for them having it. Look, I think we've been doing X all wrong at this department. This is my grievance. I want to take it to the department head. I want to take it to the city administrator. And it says specifically in there, look, nobody's going to get on to you for the grievance. We're going to let you say why you think there's something wrong. We can make it a better system for Temple, fine. If we can't, we'll tell you why. And that's what the grievance policy is. The last thing that's in subsection E, I hope I said that, but I may not have.
You did, it takes a lot of time.
Okay.
We assumed it was it.
Okay, so in part 3, we're talking about looking specifically at B, standards of conduct, C, discipline, E, a grievance policy, and H, which is public safety physicals. I don't know if you have those, but the question
Public
is
safety board, I'm sorry.
physicals, that you require physicals of folks who are going to be your police officers, and anybody who would be in that position.
That'd be like fitness for beauty.
Yes, sir. And some places have them, some places don't. I am, again, a big believer in those, but again, I'm not making the policy decisions. Now, I told Bill and I talked about this today, and I told him this. Of the 120 pages in this policy, there may be some things you want to change. There may be some things you don't think are clear. Because remember, ultimately, you give this to employees. If there's things that you don't like the way it's worded from your standpoint, then think what it's going to be for them trying to act under it. So I've got no pride of authorship. If you look at something and you say, this wording is poor, tell me. Let's change it. Let's work on the wording. That's going to be important.
So when you did the compensation and group benefits, did you match up what we were doing, or did you match up with Rockmont?
Have not done anything to match up anything with them. And
So if we do want that, we can just note that there, right?
Yes, but a great question, Richard, about kind of where we go from here, and that leads into generic things such as discipline, conduct, appeals, that sort of stuff to look at. But what I told Bill I thought would be a good idea is to get the personnel committee, or maybe the whole mayor and council as a personnel committee as a whole. You invite everybody to be involved in the process. And then maybe do like we did with this. This is a combination of 4 manual or personnel policies that we divided between myself and Carrie Pilgrim of the firm. And then when we had HR things, we've got a lady in our firm. That's one of her specialties. So we had her deal with the HR parts of it. So the great benefit for y'all is it's gone through 3 different attorneys' review and then putting it all together. So it should be a lot of good material for you. Say that and say this. We divided it up as chairman of the committee or whoever else. Give everybody some homework. I want you to look at pages 1 through 20 or something. I want you to look at 20 through so-and-so. Get back together with us, because I told Bill I don't want to spend a ton of time and legal fees on this when we got to do several things. We We gotta make it Temple user-friendly on benefits.
Right.
We gotta make it Temple as to what you do about holidays, overtime, you know.
And we got some stuff that we've had in place that probably there's no reason to change.
That's right. And if you like whatever's in place, then what I do is harmonize all this, strike through this because it's in words, so you do it, put your stuff in there. Because I would like to not review it again until you've done your initial Temple review of this. And I told Bill that we can save a lot of money. And now I got to smile because Kerry Pilgrim said when he came to the Hughes Ray discussion the other night on the development standards, he starts on page 1 and starts going through all that stuff. He did not actually. For about 2 hours. We're not going to do that, okay?
Well, we backed him down and told him we wanted to do it our way and not that way.
Yeah, good. And so we will not have that way at all, which means that after you've done the review and you've got it to me, then areas you don't like or whatever, if you can get with Kristen if she wants to do it and or Bill, because it's in Word, you can go through there and do that Word format changes, like I kind of did with that thing tonight, and say, it's unclear to us. All you got to do. Then I'll make the change, and the next time you'll see it, it'll be in a different color. And you say, ooh, okay, here's what we changed, or just say unclear or whatever comments you want to have. So my thought would be do your internal revisions and unclear thoughts or whatever. And then what I'd like to do is then me and or Kerry come back and redo it for a second version. That's going to be a pretty strong Temple version to go back to what you said, Richard. Then when I give you the Temple version, we're going to look at it, in my opinion, as a group. And we'll say, all right, instead of going from page 1 to page 116, let's focus on where we're still got issues or whatever, so that you'll get my feedback before we ever meet again, and we will have the next session. I think we need to do it probably as the only thing on a work special day when everybody can hopefully be here. But remember, that's after you look at the parts I want you to specifically. Number 1, you divide up, and or the mayor or whoever else, action items for everybody to look at. It becomes Temple review, and you send me back what, we use the movie thing, you hear me use sometimes the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so then I'm to get it back to you in a better form and with a, not a whole Bill Osborne memo, but a pretty good Bill Osborne memo that says, all right, we're going through 1 through, my assignment was 1 through 22, and here's what I've done, and here's where you'll see them very easy in Word format. Let me ask you this, does anybody not use the computer much? I'm not saying you're going to put anything on the computer. I'm just saying that when I get you to call it up, you can see the yellow and the blue.
Right.
Because
We always supposed to have laptops.
okay, so, because I'm just saying to you that that's what it'll be. I'm not asking you to change anything, I'm not to get you to go in there and do all that Word formatting, nothing. I'm just saying when I send it back to you in Word format, it's going to show you where I've stricken it in red, and it's going to show you the new version in either yellow or blue, so you don't go through 117 pages to find my changes. Okay?
So then it might be wise, everybody knows what to look at, but it might be wise for Mr. Osborne and I to get together and kind of maybe divvy up, do some divvying up. Because we probably really need to just look at those benefits first, because those are all codified in the current. It may be easy just to get those in there before those go out and let everybody look at that to see what they want to do with that.
Great point, and let's suppose you do that. Don't show them to me. We don't
Right.
want to pay
They need to go
over.
to them.
Do that and let Kristen look at it for you.
Yeah.
Let her redo it, let Bill put it in there and say, all right, here's the current benefit packages. We doing anything else about that or what are we doing? So again, a lot of the internal temple things, y'all change. And then once you've got them changed, I can see it in case I got some question about something. Okay? That's the speech.
You're good at that, aren't you? You got that much time.
Somewhat.
All right, are there any questions?
Can I ask questions?
If you got $5 in there, then you want.
Did we get a copy of the Longmont ordinance, the old one, a while back?
I know that when Mr. McRae originally sent it to us, Mr. Osborne had the discussion that he didn't want everyone to get it at one time. I believe he wanted Mr. Bracknell to have a copy because he was over the personnel committee, and I believe the mayor also got a copy, and that was.
You got it, but there was something else, there was a reason that got blocked. It wasn't that anybody was trying to hide anything.
No, I think they
It
just.
was, I think it was a miscommunication somewhere along the way as to whether or not it was ready for us to have it.
I know, I did not remember getting it.
I did not get one either because it said hold off. There was a miscommunication, but there was something wrong with when we didn't get that first one. It doesn't matter, we didn't get it, there's no need to go back and, we
And I
don't have it,
did-
now we can go to work.
I did get the copy today, but y'all emailed me late this afternoon, but I haven't emailed it to you yet. It was a little crazy this afternoon, but I'll email it to everyone first thing in the morning. So y'all can start going. Yeah, it really was because Mr. Bracknell had about 20 things for me to help him with. So I will get it out to everyone this morning.
I couldn't do it, I had to do everything with pencil and paper. until I got that computer.
Yes.
So, again, the one thing I don't want to do, to me, bond issue is our next, we've kind of gone through various things, that's our next thing. And then if personnel is next on the list, then as soon as we get some direction on bond issue, that gives y'all 30 days or so to kind of work all this.
We're pretty good about, getting our ideas together, just kind of let it do it at our leisure. But like I say, probably let everybody have it and do what you suggested here. And then we'll sit down and we'll get this stuff that's already temple, because you need to see that to know if there's anything you want to change while we're doing that, right?
Yeah, and
Which
then,
makes sense.
and then let's we're talking about a timetable, and we're, pick a month and a half away, we're middle of October, and it's been temporized, so to speak. Then what you'd want me to do is to, Bill will say to me, all right, it's back in your court. And then what Bill and Kristen need to do is give me about 2 weeks. We don't need McRae languishing around with it for 3 months, okay?
So you probably need the changes that we made, you need those highlighted the same way.
To some degree.
It doesn't matter with you which way it is.
I would say that temple things, particularly, probably not, like your holidays and
Right.
things of this nature. But Bill will know, he's done this a long time, he'll know kind of what he wants my input on, and changes you've made. And we'll go back and look at that. But I don't want me being the impediment to moving it forward. So, I need 2 or 3 weeks to put it back in your lap. Then we'll have a special session, in my opinion, go through it on everything we got to decide on. Let me say this, once we get to that stage, what I like to do sometimes, depending on if we got a different version, is to say, all right, as it relates to discipline, I'm going to give you version 1, 2, or 3. So we're not sitting here saying it shall be, or it will be, or this, that, or other. We don't get into the weeds on the wording, but we'll choose between version 1 or version 2. Version 1.
Or we could just give our ideas that you put it in the language and things.
Sure. If y'all gelled on an idea, then I'll put the language in there. What a good point. And if that's what we're doing, then we come back with the language. You put it in there in the language, and I don't understand it. And so we want.
That kind of makes sense for us to just say, maybe A, B, C, D, this is what we want, A, B, C, D. And then you go and you put it in the language that's appropriate, and then come back and let us read that and see if that's exactly what we meant. Sounds like a good plan.
So I'll do that when it's the mayor and council pleasure.
It don't need to be that lawyer language, everybody needs to be able to understand.
And we need at least lawyer language. If it had I give you my thoughts about that, Howard. If it had 10% or less lawyer language, we're good. If it's got 90% lawyer language, we're real.
Can you understand it? Sure.
All right, any questions? All right, we're all getting hungry, so we'll move on to we'll move on. Now, we're finished.
All right, thank you, sir. Community Development Committee, Mr. Tom Wallace.
Okay, item number 1, report from the City of Temple Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee, including plans for a second public hearing, subsequent adoption of the 20-year plan, and submission of the plan to the State Department of Community Affairs. Mr. Osborne.
I'm going to cover this, and then Councilman Wallace, if you'll indulge me to also report on service delivery strategies, since it's right there. But basically, just as update, know that some of you have been involved more than others on this, but we, under the chairmanship of Mr. Bracknell, the steering committee has basically completed its mission on developing a new comprehensive plan for the years 2018, 2038. We've had our final work session. We may have one or even 2 more special sessions, but we do have a draft document, and as soon as I get that back from Mr. Gerald, I will get that to you. I thought I would have it tonight, but Mr. Gerald did not give them to me over the weekend. And basically what he's doing is, our last meeting, we did some editing, and we're trying to get it ready for people to look at. Main thing is, you'll see right in the middle of the page, we do have a second public hearing that has been scheduled. I hope you will put that on your calendars. It will be on 6 p.m. next, 2 weeks from tonight, Monday, September the 10th, here at City Hall. The announcement, legal ad was in the Sunday Times, Georgia, and there may be some changes made after the second public hearing, but we are trying to stay on course so we can get this plan adopted in October, because we've got to get it to the state by then, as do a number of other local governments. And as I think all of you know, that state, basically, if you don't meet their deadlines, basically you ineligible for a lot of different state grants and loans and permits and so forth. Now, I did, the last part of this report to you is that, as you probably know, we're not the only local government having to do this, that Carroll County and other local governments in Carroll County having to do it also. We have been given the opportunity under state requirements to take a look at what the other local governments that are near to us are doing with their comp plans, even as they are able to look at ours. Now, the only one that I really wanted to look at in terms of implications for us was the Carroll County comp plan. And I have reviewed that. For the most part, I thought it looked good. Really found only one thing that concerned me, because part of when you look at what our committee has done is that concerned in looking in the future of looking at the area south of I-20 along 113 as being really for additional major commercial growth and a lot of industrial growth. And while the Carroll County draft comp plan had some expansion on that, frankly, I thought it was not near as much as it needed to be, because if that area ever gets 2 or 3 even moderate income subdivisions, it's going to be hard to have that developed, which should be an employment center and a real financial stronghold, whether we annex it at some point or not. At any rate, make a long story short, and I'll spell it out here for you. The mayor and I met with Gerald Pilgrim from the chairman's office, the county community development director, Ben Skipper. We talked through what I just was saying to you. They agreed that the county plan, draft plan needed to be revised to expand the proposed future land use south of I-20 for a significantly larger industrial development area and commercial area. And we'll be following up on that with the county in the future. So that's my report on that, and I'm open for questions.
May I make a comment? This is a tribute to everyone that made a recommendation to be on that committee. That committee, I think Tom will agree, it was a phenomenal committee. They were very dedicated to looking at each of the areas and making plans to, very effective, good plans, strategic plans for improving quality of life in Temple. It was unbelievable, and I think once you see the document that's been produced, you're going to see, and many of those people think, they were thanking the person who had appointed into that committee, but, and then, trying to get it tied to exactly what the city's going to do. It was, and then when we had the public hearing, we had probably the largest crowd that we've had for a public hearing. And a lot of people coming in and asking in the excitement of trying to get us going where we need to be going, which I thought was just as impressive as anything else. It was coming together for a positive look at our town and to have come up with positive ideas to make our town better. And it's so much. It was so pleasant, not the and not calling and screaming. I was just very, very impressed. It was just kind of neat. Sit back and watch the ideas come together. Would you agree?
Yes, sir.
You agree?
Yeah,
with
it was
that?
an enjoyment being on there.
Oh, it was a pleasure.
Very good.
Anyway, thank you for that.
But if y'all will put September the 10th on your schedules and come to the second public hearing, and we will get you a copy of the draft comp plan as soon as we get it. If I can, I put in each of your boxes today some information on service delivery strategy. Just very quickly, we are at that point under state requirements where the Carroll County government and its municipalities have to enter into a new service delivery strategy agreement. The mayor and I were invited to a meeting last week scheduled by the commission chairman's office. And that was a good meeting. We got some information there and I've given you a copy of what has been proposed as the new service delivery strategy agreement. There's not much change from the one that was done 20 years ago that has been amended 3 different times in the past 2 decades. But I would request that you take a look at the document that I've given for you. It's relatively short, only 13 pages. Now, the previous document was a little longer, and there were several expanded sections. This morning at staff meeting, I gave each of the directors a copy of the proposed new agreement, but also gave, I know the police chief, Wayne Everhart, Parks Director, and additional sections just to be sure that the changes that are being proposed by the county will not be harmful to the town. But I think based on what I've seen is that we're likely to be able to get through this process very quickly and very easily, which will be a joy and a pleasure. I'm sure Mike can tell you probably something he's been involved in. The last one I was involved in, Douglas County, went on for probably 6 months. Very contentious. We could not reach an agreement. We had Buddy Welch as our attorney in the county. They even got, I'm trying to remember his name from up your way, retired Chief Justice of the State Supreme Court to be the mediator. And he liked to go crazy trying to get us to reach an agreement. We finally signed it so we wouldn't get in total trouble with state. We was happy with that. Now, we don't have the same kind of dollars on the table in this one. There was some billions of dollars at stake with that agreement. But we do want to be sure that the Temple is, the agreement is fair and certainly doesn't put us at a disadvantage. Please take a look at that. Give me feedback the next, by the end of this week, frankly, because there may not even be a follow-up meeting. Unless some of the municipalities think there should be a follow-up meeting on the 12th, there won't be. And if we don't need one, so be it. But if we see things we need to do. I'll mention one final thing as you read through this. And we had a discussion on this, I think, in the budget process. You remember the county with the formula that they were using for providing funds to our recreation program, our recreation department. It had to do with kids who live outside the corporate limits of Temple that participated on our programs, that we got some money for that. But one of the things that has never been covered by the county was soccer. And of course, that is a big thing. That is one thing that was brought up at the meeting last week, and the county seemed agreeable to including that. But that will be one thing we'll want to make sure of also.
And that, along that same line, is this is the document we're actually going by now?
No, that's the proposed document.
This is the proposed? Okay. So there was something about the money that we were getting for the rec department that was eliminated.
But part
It was, I think it was, but if this is a binding document, how can they do away with it?
well, the service delivery strategy agreement that you sign basically is a 10-year agreement unless it's amended. And if it's amended and approved, then that takes precedent. And what you're looking at there is what they're proposing. I can give you a copy of the current document.
This is good, I mean, you know.
But anyway, go through that. If you want a copy of anything else, I'd be glad to give it to you, but I do need feedback this week.
$360,000
That's all I
is
got.
not enough. $360,000 is not enough to be divided among the math, right?
Any other questions? Okay. Final one, number 2. Staff report on plans for the 2018 City of Temple Founder's Day event on Saturday, September 22nd. Chris.
Okay, so the Special Events Committee has been busy finalizing the plans for Founder's Day. I'm going to keep this kind of short, but I'll just give you some of the highlights from the most recent meeting that was held last week. We have 2 electronic billboards that are in place and running right now and run up through the day of Founder's Day. They're in Carrollton on Highway 61 and over on Linda Lane. There's going to be 20 commercial spots on local radio stations the week prior to the event. We do have some new sponsors since the last time we discussed this, and that's going to be Pioneer Ford. They are sponsoring the car show that we're having, and they're also going to sponsor having some awards like Best in Show and different things for that. And we have 2 other sponsors who are sponsoring the street dance. That's going to be Milltown Music Hall and Bear Church. Also, we've got 2 food trucks that are also going to participate at the street dance, so that's awesome. We have right now 9 bands and different entertainment groups lined up for the entire day. And at this point, I was counting this morning on our list, we have over 25 vendors and over 25 parade participants We're expecting those numbers to increase, but that's what we have confirmed so far. So that's just a brief summary of what's going on. We're very appreciative to all the citizens who are on the committee. They're doing an awesome job helping us pull this together.
And some good committees. That's all I can say. They're doing great.
One correction, like one of the electronic signs is at 113 in Linda Lane instead of 61.
Okay, that was.
Where's the other one? You said there's two.
I don't know the list.
It's over here at, on 61 near the Old Charlie's area down there.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the electronic sign. So I need to look when I'm stopped with that traffic light, because I have not seen it.
You may have to pull it, down here, depending on your timing, down here at 113 in Linda Lane, you might have to pull into the little mini market and wait for it to come out.
Okay, many times as I stop there, I'm sure I'll see it.
That's it.
Okay, that concludes that committee.
No.
Well, oh, I'm sorry.
Can we add something?
Yeah.
The discussion of reactivating the DDA, I think it's time I think we need information about bringing that back into bid.
Simple as redoing it, putting it back in place, just like you took it out. I talked to Bill about that today, and thanks to the decision of the mayor and council. I do not know if DCA has any current rules or forms or whatever since the last time I did it. I'll just need to look at that, but it would be a simple ordinance to reinstate the downtown development authority, subject to any DCA requirement, Department of Community Affairs, which governs on it. And I told Bill to just check with them if he would, or get Kristen to check with them, see what they got. And then we've had that happen before, interesting, still, Bill, where it's been abolished and then
Well, one of the things is to make sure that it comes back with the intent that it was there for, and that is economic development. That's what this, the guy that's working with us now probably needs to be able to benefit from the services that the DDA can provide.
And if there's a model ordinance that they now use that deals with the things you're talking about, or I asked Bill if there were formal rules and regulations for the DDA when it's in existence before. Put that package together and it should be just as simple of, we're back in the DDA business and here's what we're doing. But if we want to get into governance and things of this nature to some degree in the ordinance, we can do that. I just get the model to save us some money.
Establish it by the ordinance rather than waiting for the bylaws to be developed. Because I don't think bylaws exist.
But he was going to look and see.
They've never been able to, maybe when it was originally formatted that there was supposed to be, but bylaws developed, there's never been able to find.
And I would say to you that, and this is a generalization, as I recall, the last time I did one of these, it was 7, 8 sections, just, here's what we're doing, we're putting it back in minutes. And then we had somebody, we'll look at this. I think there is, you can have one member of the council, mayor and council on there. And I think it's a great idea. I think you do need an elected official.
But we also need to have specific requirements for people who are serving on them.
And all that would be in the
Would be in the ordinance, right?
Yeah. And then you let, for example, if they're going to have rules and regulations or bylaws, then let your city council person look at that and be sure that it's doing what y'all think it ought to be done. And then you can bring that up anytime you want to, y'all look at it. If that's a priority, then let me know and we'll get somebody to get on.
I think it's a priority because if we've got somebody who needs that service.
And if that, again, would be my marching orders from Bill. So if that's what I'm to do, then Bill, if you just let me be aware if that comes up, we're ready to go. Or are you telling me to go on now?
We can't vote, but I think the general consensus is to move on it.
You don't make an elected vote tonight, but you can certainly have a committee direction. So if the committee's direction is for me to start that process with Bill's help, then I'm what I'm fixing to do.
You have somebody in there, is that what
Yeah.
Are these members on here, just because I'm not in here, are they members by appointment or are they members by?
Well, that's what we need to establish, because that was not established the last time. I mean, the whole thing is that it's an economic development, so that what the whole deal is in that zone, the individual has a vested interest in doing something with those buildings downtown and proceeding with that. You know, parades and stuff like that fall under the, you said it now on the Main Street, Main Street.
Main Street.
Main Street, you know, kind of falls under, but Main Street has to have a full-time director. There are a lot of things within it. But the DDA should be helping people, you know, we got action happening in downtown, and the DDA should be all about, you know, making it possible for those things to happen.
So to work with the owner,
Mm-hmm.
get things going, because aren't all those buildings are pre-owned by somebody, or they don't? Okay.
And we got, you know, we got the one that's trying to reactivate his, and then we got going across the tracks. You know, there's all kind of things that could be helped with. So anybody who, you know, if you have a strong feeling, just let them know, but I think it's time to.
So we're gonna move on.
If anybody doesn't object,
Okay.
Okay, then Bill, I'll let you look and see what, Chris, see what DCA has, see about model ordinance, things of this nature, and just get that to me, and we'll prepare something for you.
Finished? Yes. All right. Thank you, sir. Closing comments, Ms. Bivens,
No, thank you.
Mr. McRae, Mr. Walden, Mr. Wallace, Mr. Brighton. All right, one comment. We're still on baby watch. Delaney Marie surely has not made her decision to come just yet. However, I put Mr. Mayor Pro Tem on notice that if she decides next Tuesday, that's when she's going to appear, then you're going to be the man, okay? All right, so Christina's still working, still teaching each day. Got Mama volunteering at her side, so anything happens on the job, then we've got somebody stationed and ready. And, but anyway, we look forward to Delaney Marie's arrival. All right, I entertain a motion for this, for adjournment.
second.
All in favor, let it know, saying aye.
Aye.